Hey everyone, I am back with my first 30 before 30 read, or 30 books I want to read before I turn 30. These are 30 books I'm going to read before I turn 30. I turned 30 in not really exactly, I'm a little late filming this. Ideally, I want all these to come out on the 21st of each month. This one, been kind of slacking making the video. Anyways, the first book I chose to read was The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. So what is the book about? The book is about Mikael Blomkvist? I don't know. They're all Swedish names. He is a journalist for a magazine called Millennium, which does like investigative journalism about like finances and stuff, I believe. He does a piece about this guy Wernerstrom. Turns out all the info he got was completely useless and lies, so he goes to court, has to pay a bunch of money, goes to prison even, or maybe just jail. I think it was prison. I think he actually went to prison. He gets contacted by this guy. What was his name? Wagner? One of those. Wenger, I think. He's hired by Wenger. Is it Wenger? I don't know. Anyways, this guy, he has sent these same flowers every year, these like pressed flowers, which he was gifted to by his niece, Harriet, who went missing many years ago, like when she was 16. She would be like a grown adult now. And then he's still getting them, and then he thinks, her body has never been found, and I think he's kind of hoping she's still alive. If not, he wants to find out who is responsible for his disappearance or anything. And then he knows that Blomkvist has all this time off. He hires him to investigate this, and he also wants a memoir about his whole family. And now you may be asking yourself, where's the girl with the dragon tattoo? Well, she's not actually the biggest character in this. The girl with the dragon tattoo is Elizabeth Salander. She's like this emo, punky girl that is society just kind of beats down upon. She has to like ask to use her own money. I think it's kind of like a conservatorship, whatever Britney Spears had, and apparently that guy from The Blind Side also had one. I think it's something like that, maybe like a Swedish twist of it. She's a top of the notch hacker. She's the one who. So Wenger is the lawyer, Dirk Frode, hires this girl to look up anything she can about Blomkvist to see if he's like a good guy, and before offering him the job to investigate. And so she does. She digs up all his past. She digs up things with the trial. She's like, yeah, he's in the right here and whatnot. So then they work together to solve this mystery. And it becomes this kind of investigation of like, it's not just her, like there were other things, and there's like breadcrumbs that Harriet might have led to figure out what's actually been going on. And it's actually really, it's really good. But the reason I'm reading these books is because I want to learn more about writing and storytelling. I thought this might be one of the lighter ones that I don't learn a crazy amount from. Maybe I'll pick up some things here and there. I didn't think there would be much vocab because it's a translation. With the translation, it's not really the author's like exact words. A lot of the time, it's pretty close. They usually do a really good job. But I did actually find some good vocab words that I liked in this book. So I'll talk about those too. But one thing I learned, to not be afraid to expo dump. Like this book especially needs to give you all the facts, right? Because it's like a mystery thriller. It wants to give you all the facts so you can kind of solve it yourself. It kind of just puts them all out there. And in this conversation, it's like pages and pages long of this guy just telling you what's going on. Maybe the hints are in there that you can kind of figure it out. But I'll be honest, I was scrolling YouTube one day and a video was recommended to me that spoiled a major part of the book. I won't talk about it. Just in case you do want to read this book, I do recommend it. But yeah, so that's kind of sad. So I can't really tell if it's gettable, if it's guessable, if you could really work it out. I think you could. I think you really could, at least by a certain point of the book, you should be able to be like, it's got to be this guy, you know, or girl, you know. But it is very interesting. Another thing I learned was, not really learned, but another thing I really liked about the storytelling from this book is the duality of some of the scenes. So in the story, Bloomquist is like a bit of a ladies' man, bit of a player. Not really a player, or a womanizer, but like, you know, he gets the girls, right? And there's like 3 different people he's sleeping with, you know, throughout this book, maybe even more. It kind of takes some of these scenes where, you know, he's with a woman, and then it jumps to Lisbeth's life, and you kind of see, you know, kind of a darker side, something a little more forceful. It just kind of bounces back between these, so you get this real duality of these characters as they're making their way, but not just because of their gender these things are happening, but, you know, it's also kind of because of their gender. That's another thing that I really liked about the book and that I learned, is to not be afraid to just, you know, say what the book is about. The headers for a lot of these chapters are like, you know what, let me find one. So like the book escalates as it goes on, obviously. And so like part 1, it starts out with 18% of women in Sweden have at one time been threatened by a man. Like this one, 92% of women in Sweden have been subjected to sexual assault, have not reported the most recent violent incident to the police. Yeah, like each part of the book just starts with like a statistical fact about how women in Sweden, and of course, you know, in most of the world, are subjected to these atrocities. We'll say. I do enjoy that it's very blatant with its purpose, its themes, motifs, and you can tell the author was like a really big advocate for like women and the safety of women, because like that's what the other 2 books in the series are also about. So then I guess it's just vocab is kind of the other stuff that I learned. Some of the words I found that I really liked throughout this book was prosaic, vestige, I think it's vestige, chaste, I don't know if it's like chaste, like chastise, or like chaste as in importunate, not important, but importunate. Taciturn, I just like that word. Taciturn, that's a good one. Propensities, another great word. Propensities, kind of like the alliteration on those 2. Idyllic, I think that's idyllic. And then candor. Those are the words that I kind of learned. And that's about it. I really enjoyed the book. You know, what should I read next? Drop it in the comments. We'll see. Let me know if you read this book, what you think about it. I plan to read the other 2, but I think I'm going to work on my 30 for 30s a little bit. Maybe when I finish a book, you know, I'll read it. But I also did read these books since my last video. So there's that. But I also read these books since the beginning of the year, if that matters, too. Just so I have a log of all years. Anyways, I will see you next month. Peace out. They just want the good parts. Sunday.